morning and welcome to the Up Zone, where understanding politics is made simple. We are your two hosts. I am Tisha S. Waddell, former city council member for the 3rd District in the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and Mr. Elmer Floyd, former House Representative for the 43rd District in the state of North Carolina. Mr. Floyd, how goes all?
You're getting better, Chief. That's the best one that you have introduced me in many years. Thank you so
I'll
much.
take it.
Thank you so much.
We've been doing this podcast for some years now.
That's what
Like
I'm
it
saying.
feels like we just started yesterday, but we've been at this for a little while now.
I appreciate that. I appreciate the recognition that you just given me. Thank you so
It's
much.
always a pleasure to be able to recognize someone of your stature. Speaking of someone of your stature, we have someone who once was a counterpart of yours who's going to be joining us on our show today, and that is the current chairman of the Board of Commissioners, Kirk deViere. He will be joining us in about 10 minutes to discuss the happenings across the county. But, Mr. Floyd, as we are waiting patiently for his arrival, let's talk announcements. What do you have for us today?
Tisha had an opportunity to this weekend to attend former Commissioner Charles Evans' fundraiser. And surprisingly, Tisha, she had a packed house.
I
Uh,
believe that.
and I attended Murray, which is my former secretary at Peace Memorial, and they too had a packed house for their Christmas holiday. So those were two events at the same time that I was jumping across to attend those two. Now the bike program is going to be December the 13th, and they need volunteers from 8 to 2. And if you want to
Is
volunteer,
it going to be at the same place that it used to be all the time? Okay.
yes, and they can call 745 8008 to volunteer. Now, Mount Sinai and Kingdom Impact and Mount Olive is going to have a Christmas program. It's going to be two performances. One is going to be at Mount Sinai on December 13th, and both is at 4 p.m. And the other one is going to be December the 14th at Kingdom Impact. And if you want to join the
I
NAA,
love the collaboration. Collaboration, such a beautiful thing. I love that.
the three
Kudos
of
to
them
them.
together is going to form two performers. And then, JJ is going to have his Christmas party, and that's going to be on December the 21st at the Amioc. Uh,
Okay.
and don't forget about the Kawanza, and that's going to be December the 27th at Smith Rec Center, and it's going to talk about the seven principles. And Sharon Johnson is going to have her Christmas program at Peterkin at 6 p.m. on December 13th. And the Lumley is about they're one step away from getting their travel
Federal
recognition.
recognition. That's right. That's right. Now,
Yeah.
Mr. Flood, let's talk about that really briefly because I want people to understand why that is important. Why is that designation important? And why is it something that we see this tribe fighting for, so tenaciously?
Well, number one, money. Okay. Number two, healthcare. Number three, education. And number four, housing. And number five, teacher, right on the interstate I-95 and possibly 74 future, they're going to be a casino.
A
And that
casino.
casino is going to bring in money. In fact, I'm going to go every night.
Mr. Floyd, you're gonna be by yourself, and I'm gonna have to call. I'm calling Mrs. Floyd. I'm gonna say, "Go get him." I'll drive you. We going to get him.
But the unique thing about this now, Keith, and this is what people don't understand about politics. Your concern can be stored in bills that you don't like. Okay,
Absolutely.
this bill is in the defense bill. Okay, not a regular bill, but it's inside that. So this is what we don't understand, and many Democrats don't understand that a lot of things that you may have to vote for a bill and hold your nose that you don't like, but
Yeah.
your interest is in that bill. So this is going to bring them a lot of money and a lot of recognition, and it's going to be a Robertson County there.
Absolutely.
We may
And
get some.
and Mr. Floyd, And I want to say this. I think that is I want to say two things. I think it's so powerful that we see, and I think of it almost as reparations. I think it's so powerful that we see our indigenous Americans getting their recognition and sort of having some benefit to and it's a weird way to say this, but a benefit to being obliterated essentially, because there should be an I'm sorry, let me make amends. I certainly hope that we who are the American descendants of slavery will be afforded at some point.
Now you don't need that one. Not you don't need that one. You don't need the 20 acres of mule. You need 20 acres of a Jeep or a tractor. Okay.
40 acres, Floyd. Don't try to short me. 40 acres
and a tractor. Okay.
Yeah, I keep your mule. You can keep your mule, yeah. But Mr. Floyd, no, I was really happy when I read that. I do recognize that this government doesn't do anything that doesn't benefit themselves. And so when you mentioned that there may be a casino coming, that speaks volumes about those who would be in support of this, who might not really understand the significance of this designation. But I'll tell you, I'm still not pro casino, but I'm definitely pro recognition for the Lumbee tribe. Mr. Floyd, what other announcements do you have before we bring our esteemed guest on?
Now there is, and our esteemed guest has received a copy. My understanding from Joe McGee is that he have introduced a new proposal for the Martin Luther King Spur. Now I don't know whether or not this will come to fruit. There is changing it from the fire to let it be a technology tower. They're using LED lights, but the thing of it is, nobody. Well, let me correct myself. People have been trying to find out where the $2.5 million that has been spent as it relates to the state. So I don't know if builders want to fare out. I mean, nobody, you can't get an answer. Even the committee of the Martin Luther King Committee don't know where the money is being spent. But now the last thing we have, Teach, is that there was a zoning which Attorney Jonathan Johnson had for the developer of the rezoning of a property on, I think it's 2211 Rose Hill Road, and he held a meeting there at the College Lake Rec Center for the developer and see how can the community work out their individual differences. Well, I had a meeting scheduled, so I didn't change that schedule.
I would like to remind our community to go back and watch our podcast where we talked about the disciplinary actions regarding Attorney Charleston, and I would like to remind you all that you need to be asking your city council, your public works commissioners, and any other entity that is a government agency funded by your tax dollars to why they are still doing business with somebody with this reputation and with this disciplinary record. So the question is worth asking. The question is worth asking.
The question is worth asking, but I could understand Attorney Charleston. His firm,
Mr. Floyd, absolutely.
His firm is out to make money. I mean, he's not running a nonprofit.
But you have to do so. But you have to do so ethically and in alignment with the rules that govern your career field. And so when you violate the rules of your own career field, there should be some repercussions for that. And I don't know what those repercussions should be. I just think that the question should be asked of the governing bodies. So we do have our guest. Go ahead.
I just think that he is the attorney for the firm, and the reason why many of our guests did not go, they had been stood up at least 3 to 4 times by the developer, and they was afraid that if they went this time, the developer wouldn't show up. But I don't blame Attorney Charleston. It's a way to make money.
Absolutely.
Those are my announcements.
Absolutely. So govern yourselves accordingly. We're going to go ahead and bring in Chairman deViere and get started in talking about what's going on across the county. Good morning, Chairman deViere. How are you?
I'm well. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
So before we get started, congratulations are in order. We do recognize that you have made history now, I think twice on this board. The first time coming in as a new commissioner and being appointed chairman, and now for the second term being appointed chairman of the board. Congratulations. What does that imply to everybody in our audience in regards to your leadership and what your board feels about that?
Well, thank you, and thank you for the congratulations. I think it shows a couple things. I think one, I think it shows this board is committed to doing things different. We came in with a pretty clear mandate of what we wanted to do, and that was focusing on the foundational things like public education and water and sewer. We know we had to tackle the reevaluation and a budget, as well as public safety and mental health. And we navigated through that, and that was under my leadership. But it's truly a team. We've got a great team of commissioners that we've learned to work together over this year, and I think there's a continuity of me continuing in that leadership role as we continue to tackle the things that are in front of us with water and sewer and public education, with what the school board's going through right now. That was part of our discussions with them on why we funded them the way that we did, that they're going through this repurposing process with the consultant. And so I think it was just a nod to the confidence in my leadership to continue to move our board in the direction that we all collectively wanted to go and that we had laid down in our strategic plan.
Okay. And in regards to what the I don't want to use this word, but it's the only one I can think of. What is the advantage of being the chairman of the county commissioners? What does it mean to be the chairman of the county commissioners?
Well, one, of course, by statute and law, really you're governing the meeting. And so, you preside over the meeting and have all those rules and rights associated with that. But you're also, in a lot of times, you're the primary spokesperson. Any commissioner can speak, of course, to the press. But when I speak for the board. And I represent that our collective wishes and where the majority vote is and how we're moving forward. I think it also helps from my standpoint. I believe it helps keep us focused. I believe that I can, we look at our strategic plan, what we wanted to do, and then making sure that our staff, as well as our board of commissioners, stay focused on those and kind of keep us between the rails. Versus, moving to the beat of the shiny penny. We know we've got certain things we need to do. We know we've got timelines. And as the chair, it helps you have the ability to try to continue to make sure that the will of the board is adhered to and that the things that need to happen in a timely manner.
Okay. And what is the agenda for this term for you guys as you will be setting for the county commissioners?
So we will go back in January and just revisit our strategic plan. If you recall, last year we did the first strategic plan in 3 years. So our board was kind of, in my opinion, a little bit rudderless. And so we set some priorities in that strategic plan. And I think what you'll see this year is a continuation of that. So we made some huge strides with our water and sewer. And you'll begin to hear more about that over the next couple of months. In the actions that we're doing and how we work with PwC and other partners, but also with our districts and our municipalities. So that's a clear priority focus. How we move forward with public schools and investing in our children and investing in our education. We made a huge commitment, the largest investment that's been made, to include teacher supplements to make sure that we're retaining the best teachers here, but also ensuring that we're investing in the infrastructure of those school systems. Working with the schools hand in hand with their consultant report that's coming out on the repurposing. We'll do a joint meeting in January. Those decisions need to be handled by the school board, what things are moving, changing, and then we'll come in and make sure that it's resourced and then look at opportunities around maybe some of the property that's vacated, whether we are looking at neighborhood parks or looking at affordable housing opportunities or those types of things that we can begin to lay out. So we're very focused there. Public safety. We know we've got to continue to work with public safety, working towards a joint 911 side. So I feel optimistic about where we'll end up in that.
Where are we with that?
So we'll come back together. We'll come back together in January. And unfortunately, I think maybe politics and campaign got in a little bit in December. I think now you've got new board members on the city council. We need to make sure they're updated on the information. There's a request for some user information, so the fire chiefs and those people that are actually using the dispatching service will come back together. I think we have a good path. You know, we've made a lot of compromises. This joint model, governance model, is a great approach. It makes sure that there's accountability. It makes sure that everybody has a voice, but it also ensures that the residents get the best possible response time. So I believe we'll get through that. You know, we're bringing mental health into this component. So whether we do joint or not, we are moving forward on putting mental health aspects into our dispatching, into our 911 center, which we believe is important. And that speaks right to our strategic priority around addressing mental health. So in the last budget, we set aside $30 million for a diversion center. We know there is not a place for people that are having an emergency when it comes to mental health or behavioral health, that they don't have a place that they can go long term. We've got some short term fixes, but we don't have that long term. So we're going to continue to focus on that as well. So you'll see those, and then we've got some, you know, smaller things that we're working towards in some of the projects. When we look at our unhoused and the homeless population, getting that short-term fix, we're going to get some updates on that on Thursday. Correction, today at our agenda meeting on some short-term opportunities for some emergency shelter, and then continuing to move forward with our long-term unhoused support center. That should be coming online the end of 27, early 28 is attended plans now, and we're pushing that as hard as we can now that we got it once we got it back on track as well. So kind of, if you put it in a few buckets, you really got the infrastructure side with water and sewer. You got how we work with education. You know, as we look at mental health and public safety, I kind of put those two in the same bucket. And then, you know, our health and human services roles when it comes to our role in the unhoused. So we've got a lot of work still to do. We've got a lot of things that are right there bubbling at the top that I think you're going to see come out in the next, you know, 90 to 100 days that we'll be moving forward on. So as well as, you know, continued efforts with our projects like down at the Crown Event Center or the Crown Complex and those types of things as well.
What do you think are going to be some of the hurdles that you guys as a board are going to have to deal with over this next 2 years of your term?
Yeah, so I think one, Representative Floyd understands it's always the budget. So, you know, we got to do a budget every year, and we've got to look at that, you know, our focus on keeping that tax rate low while still providing the services, looking at where we are in the economy and what we're seeing, you know, from the revenues that flow in, and being responsible with that, but ensuring that we're planning long term. So we really got aggressive in our last budget on how we're investing in our future capital projects with infrastructure and water and schools. So we've got to make sure those continue to stay aligned while still looking for other efficiencies that we may or may not have. So that's going to be, that's always, I believe, a board's challenge. That's part of our major role, as you know, as a former council member. That's a big deal of what we're focused on. And I think making sure that our projects stay on track. You know, we're bringing in some new staff. Our county manager is bringing in a new assistant county manager. We got a new engineer coming aboard. So making sure that as this transition happens, that these projects that we're continuing to work stay on track. And I think we put in some good systems over the last couple of months to ensure that that's happening. But then just overall, you know, ensuring that we don't lose momentum with the infrastructure. We've got a lot of heavy lifting to do over this next year with some partners. You see what's happening with Fuquay Arena, you know, and their request to try to, you know, take water from, you know, the Cape Fear River. So we've got to make sure we're protecting that at all costs, but also make sure that we're building out the infrastructure in these smaller municipalities across the entire county so that we do have additional infrastructure capacity, but also that capacity will allow us to grow. If we're going to get out of a tier 1 community, and we've made some strides in that this year that we won't see for 2 years when it comes to those ratings, we've got to have that capacity to grow. So I think you're going to see our focus is going to be very similar. Our lifts are going to be the same. We just have to stay focused on the things that matter to the citizens and the foundational things. And that's always a challenge for a board, But I think that's one of the strengths that I bring to the table as the chairman, is to keep us focused.
So I have one more question, and then Mr. Floyd, I'll turn it over to you. So you guys tend to ride under the radar where personality conflicts are concerned on your board. The city council gets hit much harder. But one of the things that I noticed in the election of the chairman and vice chairman this term was that you had Commissioner Glenn Adams, who was still opposed to supporting you in this role. And you also had Patel and Tyson, right, who sort of gave these vanilla answers about why they voted against Veronica Jones in the capacity of vice chair. And I called them vanilla answers because while they sound good, nobody bought it. So, well, somebody may have, but I didn't buy it. And I think that it speaks to where some of the fracture points may be on your board. So can you speak to how navigating these personality variances is affecting or is prohibiting some of the work that you wish to see done, and what you will do in order to bridge that, particularly as we go into an election cycle and some of these seats are being challenged? So like Glenn's seat is being challenged, Veronica's seat is being challenged. And then we've got Marshall Faircloth's seat being challenged. And who else?
I think that's it. Because
I think that's it.
Yeah,
right.
Ms. Council seat's available, but she has not announced.
Right.
Either way, I want to be respectful of her own announcement.
Let her absolutely. So in regards to that, what do you see the landscape as in this season?
I see the landscape much like I saw it last season. I think when we, move forward with the items, you've seen general consensus. Most of the time it's been, in some of the larger votes, it's been unanimous or a 5-2 vote. You look back at the Crown Event Center, it was a 5-2 vote. You look at our budget, it was unanimous. And we made some major muscle moves. I think another aspect of my leadership is that I try to move people to common ground. And look, Glenn hasn't voted for, Commissioner Adams hasn't voted for me twice. He made a comment about my leadership. I could clearly make some comments about his leadership when he was a chair and our lack of investment in schools and infrastructure. But we both want the same things for this community. And I think you have 7 people across this board that want the same things. And I think you'll continue to see consensus to do that. We don't tend to have a lot of the drama. I know you said it was a vanilla.
You guys definitely don't. You guys definitely don't.
And I'll let Commissioner Patel and Tyson speak to their decision, but they were very adamant from the start that they didn't want politics to enter into our decision-making process. And we've all talked about that going into this election year. And so that was their way of kind of standing on that ground a little bit and not supporting anyone that was running for re-election, quite frankly. And it's not a difference. And again, I don't want to speak for them. Them and the vice chairwoman had conversations. She understood, where they were. And so I don't see there being conflict coming out of the leadership vote. I think what you saw is a continuity of leadership, if anything, something that hasn't been done before. So it speaks directly to who this board is and how we operate. We don't operate the same way. We do things differently. We tend to act very boldly. And that's what you're seeing, I believe. So I don't anticipate, everybody has different styles. And it's clear that Commissioner Adams and I have different styles, but that doesn't mean we both don't care about the same things and want to see things done.
And to your credit, you all have been extremely, you guys have gotten work done that we have not seen traditionally out of the board. Speaking of which, let's talk about these schools. Mr. Floyd, you had a question about the school realignments and closures.
Well, Mr. Chair, let's go back to your opening statement about the funding of the school. So for, out of this budget year with the revenue neutral taxes, and a lot of money has been founded there. So let's look at $100 million to help them with renovation and repair. Another $30 million, and that's for retention. And another, I think there was, so At 34, and then now is that also include the portion that the county provides each year for the school system? That's on top.
So there's kind of two things to look at. One that really hadn't been funded, that the state funding that comes down from lottery and those things.
But I'm not talking
So
about
no, I know. So we invested. I understand. We invested $460 million in maintenance and new construction. That had not been done previously. You hadn't seen that level of investment. And then the operating side, so teacher supplements as well as their operating, they asked for a little over $100 million. We fully funded that. That had never been done before either. So, in total, you have over $500 million that we invested in our education system.
And now did that come out of this appropriation?
Yeah. So what we did is, that comes out of dollars this year, especially that 100 million. But then also, as you look at our debt model and how we're going to service that 460, we also put together a model around that, which is a blend of cash as well as debt that we will bring on as we do some of this new construction that will be requested by the school system. The county is financially healthy. We redefined some ways that we were looking at things in how we allocated dollars and how we put dollars to capital use.
Now my question goes back to the fact that you said $500 million, and that's going to be funded over the years.
3 years.
4 years. So we've divided that. We say $100 million a year. And then what would the balance be as it relates to that each municipality and county must carry as it relates to their overall budget? How much that fund balance would the county have?
So let's not touch on our fund balance. Our fund balance is still above our statute. The way we do things at the county, and this is something that we refine more to make sure. So we have kind of our operational dollars. We have our fund balance, which is set aside above statute. Us, just like the city, like Fayetteville City Council, goes above that requirement. But then we also have I don't call another pot of money, but a different pot of when we're looking at our debt model and how we service our debt and how we invest in our capital. So we kind of have a separate fund, much like you saw in the General Assembly, Representative Floyd, where we set it up over there. We fund that off of the top so that we're funding our priorities and the needs of the community first before we move to our operational cost. And we fund our fund balance, of course, to make sure we're at our where we need to be. So those dollars for this school construction and renovation over the next 3 years will come from those dollars is where you'll see it. It'll fund the debt, but then also the cash that's sitting there as well.
Now, let me also thank you for working with the city of Cumberland. I'm talking with Mayor Barnett. Is that through the county work, they were able to get Harnett County to replace a 4-inch water line with a 10-inch water line that will help that portion of the county grow. Because as you well know, that Cumberland was getting water from Falcon, and Falcon was getting water from Harnett County. So that created some type of growth problem, because I need the water just like you all was talking about last week at Fayetteville Tech, as it relates to I think it was what was this Fuquay taking water from the Cape Fear River Bay. This is not new to Cumberland County. Just in 2018, Apex and Carrick did the same thing. After Carrick and Apex invested $56 million in a purification system, and they still wanted to take. Well, you know about all that. But the concern is that if we have to look out that Cumberland and Falcon is going to be a growing bedroom community for Wake County, as Wake County continue to get the growth that they are getting. So we need to be prepared for for that. So I just wanted to commend you all for helping
And
God.
if I could just touch on that so your audience understands. So for many years, there really wasn't a county-wide kind of plan. We talked about it, but there really wasn't anything done. And so our focus over this last year, and we're continuing to move forward with it, is to, we have these water and sewer districts that are built out where the municipalities are part of it. We have to, as a county, get in and help these municipalities. They can only do so much. And that's kind of where they are. That's where Godwin was. So we're taking a more countywide view and a collaborative view where we're building out in districts, we're leveraging the resources, we're helping fund those resources within the district and taking some of that pressure off of the municipalities. So, for example, Mayor Burnett was chasing $3 million to try to get this line done for a while. And we were able to go in, work with him, work within the district to begin to negotiate it to where he can get that built out, get those other 120 homes that he needs to have up there, as well as in Falcon, as well as in Stedman, as well as in Wade, as well as in Spring Lake. So we're working with all those areas, as well as the unincorporated areas, to make sure there's a detailed plan on how we're going to build that capacity, or increase that capacity for water and sewer, as well as take care of some of the aging infrastructure that's there. And that's been a lot of work over this year.
Falcon, with this additional water line, is going to get close to, will build about 250 houses.
That's right.
There. So growth is going to take place in that area. So I want to thank you for working with him. Now, I know Madam Waddell spoke about the upcoming election and what we saw in the last election there. I do think that both Democrat, three on four, I do think that Ms. Jones and Mr. Falcoff is going to have a difficult time this year. I don't expect you to respond. That's going to have a difficult time this year in the election. So I just want to share that with you. Now, if it turns out not to be correct, then the relationship that you had with Reverend Wright and also Mrs. Jones with your nonprofit foundation, and if you are successful, and if they are successful, it's going to help you build a little nest egg.
I'm encouraged at all the activity that we're seeing for county commissioner. And I think Ms. Waddell and I talked about it. It seems like, we create activity and everybody believes that it's a good place to be. So maybe I'm optimistic that they're seeing we're moving forward and they want to be part of it. So I'm excited about.
I'm sorry to laugh, but listen, you have the gift that I have of pivot, and I love it. I do have a serious question. Let me get my giggle out. I have a serious question. And then after this, we know you have a busy day, so we won't hold you too long.
You're fine.
When we talk about the schools, you guys are methodical. And I think sometimes when you have a strategist, which I do identify you as a strategist, I think that you were a strategist well before you came into public office. Somebody who is strategic will have a way that things roll out. And as the chairman of the board, I can recognize that something very significant happened under your leadership. The strategy appears to be that you will have fully funded the needs of the schools. You have researched what the needs are in terms of infrastructure at the schools. And now that research has been presented, so the next logical step in that methodology would be, because it's funded, because you now have the research completed, you will begin to fund the work that needs to be done. So what we saw was this report come out in the Fayetteville Observer that spoke about schools that would be realigned and closed, right? So one thing really stood out to me. Well, two things. One of the things that stood out is it seems that the schools that are in the country that are 99 and 100 years old are being better maintained than the schools that are in the more urban areas. And that, I think there's reasons for that. I don't think it's anything nefarious, but that was interesting to me because you had schools that were 100 that rated 70, which was fair. And then you had schools that were 50 or 60 that rated 40, which is, poor in terms of the quality of the maintenance. That was interesting. Another thing that was interesting, and my question is going to be about money and about parents keeping their children in the schools. was some of the schools, the way that you all talked about closing and aligning them, this consultant. So the consultant mentioned one in particular, which was Reed Ross Classical School. And when I saw what the inception of how they wanted to roll this out, I said, "Oh, that's going to be a problem because they want to close." They suggested closing Reed Ross and sending the children to the middle school children to Nick Gerald's and the high school students to E.E. Smith. Many of the parents who have sent their children to Reed Ross have done so because they didn't want to send their children to Nick Gerald's or to E.E. Smith for whatever their reason was. Do you think that some of the suggestions that were made by the consultant are actually going to hemorrhage students out of the school system, specifically given the fact that the General Assembly has robustly funded the voucher program, the school voucher program?
Great analysis and great question. So a couple of things. One, this consultant study that was done was to repurpose, realign the schools. It created 3 scenarios. So there's not been a decision on, and it could be a hybrid of those scenarios on how we look at this. In the order in which everything kind of happens. The consultant, they're the ones that did the initial report on the maintenance facilities. I think, not to speak to the urban and rural, but I think some of the rural that you see is because you also don't have the high volume of students in there
Absolutely.
as well. So there's not a concentration, so the wear and tear is left. But anyway, what we anticipate seeing, and this is where I'm kind of trying to guide the board, as well as working with the chair and vice chair, the new chair, with Judy Musgrave, and she's been the vice chair at the school previously, and we worked with them through this process, is letting them make some decisions at the school board. They know what's best. They understand the schools. They're the experts in this. Let them come to a recommended course of action to us. What do they need to repurpose? What are the new schools? What's the timeline? Those types of things. And then come back to us and say, this is our timeline, and this is how we need to, the funding works, or we need to adjust the funding into more up front or more on the back or whatever it may be. That's kind of the next logical step in this. And in our role, is it going to push people into private schools? Are there going to be people that are going to be upset once the final decision is made? More than likely, yes. In every decision, there's somebody that's always upset. But this decision that the school board will make, I believe, will be in the best long-term interest of this community, and the best long-term interest in how we have to invest in our public schools. Do I think we'll see some movement away from public schools into private schools because of what the General Assembly has done? Of course. My hope, though, is as it was when I was in the state Senate, if you create a good product, people go to that good product. And this is a step to better that product, a public school product that we have. We've got to have schools that aren't falling apart. We've got to have the latest technology in the schools. We've got to have ones that aren't overcrowded. This gets us there, but it takes a little bit of time to do it. Do I think parents are going to do what's in the best interest of their child? Yes. I've got a 9-year-old he turned 9 today, Tisha.
Happy birthday, buddy.
I've got a 9-year-old who's in elementary school, and I get it. Parents are going to make the decision that's best for their children. We have to ensure that we're providing the best possible public school product that we can. And what the school board is doing, and my hat's off to them, because it is difficult to do, and it becomes political. But from our side, we have to support them and we have to resource them. And that's where I'm coaching and trying to lead our board down that road. Let the school board make those decisions. We're there to give our input, but it's ultimately their decision, and we're there to resource it.
Absolutely.
And I'm optimistic about where this will go. I'm hopeful that we'll see a joint meeting sometime in January with them to begin to talk about their decisions.
Okay, Mr. Floyd, last and final question.
Mr. Chair, there's one concern in one way, and you all did something at one of your last meeting, and that was as it relates to the Martin Luther King Committee. There was last year, I think you all gave them 1 year extension, which was 25. Now, I think you all gave them another one. Now, I truly hope that the $2.5 million that the county has provided to the Martin Luther King Committee there is that the community has been looking. They have sent a cease and desist order. They have asked the state auditor to look at the funding of the committee. I truly hope that before the $2.5 million is provided to the committee, that the county board of commissioners look at the expenditures of the $2.5 million, which is public money that the state has provided. Now, if you look at the reports from the Office of Budget and Management, in which they are required to do. Now, the state Office of Budget and Management don't manage language; it manages dollars. So, if you look at the reports that has been sent from the committee to the office, it has scope, but it has no money in the reports. No one knows. So I truly hope that it's not a black and white issue, that it stops so that the public can see the money that has been spent. And I hope that the county would do this. There have been efforts tried from the state, and it has been tried from the city standpoint of view everywhere, but no one has looked at it from a standpoint of view. We need to find out where and how the money has been spent thus far. So I hope the request that you all made, that you hold your foot to that request.
And just as a quick note, so, us in the city, we have said, we will fund the city, and then the city will, work with them to, once the project's approved and through the process, the city of Fayetteville will actually do the contracting and the project management of it. So we're going to fund the city, and we've asked for some certain things to make sure that happen. And Representative Floyd, you know as well as I do, because you started it, and then when I was in the Senate, I was able to move that money back here. And so that $2.5 million is, part of those fundings that we were able to bring back. And so I kind of got a personal attachment to them, and I want to make sure that they were used right as well. And I want to see this project. And you made a comment before I came on about there has been a proposal that's been sent to the county and the city, an alternate proposal. And I just want to, acknowledge that we have received it. We haven't taken any action. I think it's a conversation we've got to have with the city, because to do that, there's a lot of things that need to happen. But just want to acknowledge that we did receive it. But we did, extend our commitment, for another year. But it's working with the city, and if there's some things that we've requested and the city requested, we have some expectations of that committee.
But thank you so much, Chief. As we close out, again, I understand that you're funding through the city, but I think that before that money moves across the line,
Yes, sir.
there still ought to be some documentation to see
Yes, sir.
how the money has been spent, so that the public will know. Right now, Mr. Chair, the community do not know. And thank you so much.
We've definitely asked for that, Mr. Floyd. That is our Representative Floyd. That's a part of one of the requests, as well as some updated 990 information and some financial information.
Thank you so much, sir.
Sir, we always appreciate you taking your time to come and sit with us. We hope we've given you a good usage of time this morning. And we look forward to the next time you come back. I do want you to tell people where they can find you. Do an update, a written update. It is called
deViere Dispatch.
That's it, deViere's Dispatch. And it is a Substack. I've just learned about Substacks. How can they find out about your Substack so that they can get more information?
It's real easy. If you go to devieredispatch.com, it'll redirect you over to the Substack. And really, that's not in my chairman's role. I do that because I think it's important that people get a level of detail that sometimes words that are in the community or information that's in the press become facts when they're not. And I think it's important that everybody has that information. So I try to do that and provide that, as well as just some other thoughts on that's happening. But I also want to encourage that something else that I do as the chair is, after our first Monday meeting of the month, I do something called the chairman's chat with the press. So I engage the press. I have them come in at basically a press conference, but I give updates on things that are going on. That's saved on our county YouTube page. You can watch that at any time. But the thing that's unique about it is that I also allow the press to ask any question. It's not scripted. They can ask anything that they want to ask, and we've had a good. There's been a good response from that, and I believe that the press helps us, just like this show does as well. It helps us educate the citizens across our community in any way that we can get out the facts and credible information. I'm going to look to do that, and I won't shy away from it. So we continue to look for ways, wearing my chairman's hat, to do it. And then the deViere Dispatch gives me the opportunity to put my own spin, my own, my emphasis, and a lot of times my opinion on some things. I thought it was important, really did it early on, but really pushed hard around the Crown Event Center, because I think there was some false narratives happening around that, and people didn't understand the facts recently around our homeless situation. And, it's some comments being made that this board hasn't done anything. And I would challenge them that this board has done more than any previous board in history for homelessness in actual actions and not just talk. So I think it's important that I use that to do that. So thank you for mentioning that. DeViereDispatch.com will get you right over to it.
Sounds good. Well, you have a phenomenal day. Tell Gray I said happy birthday, and we will absolutely extend an invitation in the future. If something really pressing comes up, you feel free to reach out to us.
Thank you for what y'all do, and thanks for holding the community accountable and talking about the stuff that a lot of people want to talk about.
Our pleasure, sir. Have a wonderful day.
Take care.
Bye-bye. So, Mr. Floyd, I want to say this. I appreciate the fact that Chairman deViere does distinguish his voice from his voice as chairman. I think that's important, because we have seen elected officials not do that well, and there's always some blowback about that. But moving ahead, let's talk about here's that's my segue, sir. That's my segue. Let's talk about where somebody sits, because we have now had the first, the second official, but the first meeting of this new council in council chambers. And one of the things that people may not recognize as significant, Mr. Floyd, but is highly significant, is council seating and why it matters more than you may think. Now, one of the things that you talk about often from the House perspective is seating. So, Mr. Floyd, just generically, let's talk about why seating matters. Why does where you sit, what does that say from a House perspective and a Senate perspective?
It represents authority.
That's it. It represents your position in the body, right? It speaks to your position in the body. So, let's talk about our elected body. Now let's just talk House and Senate. Where are our House and Senators seated currently in relation to this new board? I mean, to their boards.
Okay. In the Senate, most of the Republicans sit up front if you look at the half circle.
Okay. And that's indicated by their number, right? It's indicated by their number. So your number was what when you were 36. There?
I was 36.
36 out of how many?
I was 36 out of 120.
So that means that you had some standing. You had some standing. You were in the top 25% of what was popping. What is how many state senators do we have?
50.
What is our senator's number?
I think they're 49, somewhere in the neighborhood, 49 or 50 out of 50. Okay,
so there we go. So that speaks to stature. So let's what's Diane Wheatley's number? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
I bet you it's not 120 something.
No, it's
I'm
not
sure
that.
She's up there in the 20s and 30s. Yeah.
It's not that.
So let's take a look at a picture that I pulled from the most recent meeting, and let's apply this same thinking. Tell me when you can see my screen, Mr. Floyd.
I can see it.
This is the new seating chart for the Fayetteville City Council. So here you have Sean McMillan. Next to him, you have Lynn Green. Next to her, you have Malik Davis. And then you have our new Mayor Pro Tem, Derek Thompson, Mayor Mitch Colvin, who will always be seated front and center, DJ Hare, Brendan McNair, Stephon Ferguson, Antonio Jones, Dino Hondros. Based upon what we just said, one could infer that the mayor has surrounded himself by his people, right? So he's going to have to the left and the right of him those that he feels are going to be most loyal to him, those that he feels most comfortable with. Typically, this seat is always going to be reserved for the mayor pro tem, right?
I'm not sure about the way that they count, but my question to you as being a former council member, who signs the seats? Well, in the General Assembly, that's done by the leadership there. That is the speaker and also the rules chair assign a room and seating arrangement. So
can you see my cursor?
Yes.
The mayor assigns the seats.
Okay.
So he assigns the seats. Now, this indicates that Sean being here. Now, you know who else sat there?
Who's that?
Mario sat there. You know who else sat there? Tisha sat there. So this is you get over in the corner and just be quiet over there seat, okay? I don't understand why the mayor has not figured out yet. This is the best seat in the dais. This is the best one. Let me tell you why. Sitting here, you can see everything that's happening all the way around the room. You've got a door right behind you. So if you got to hurry up and get out, you got immediate access to an exit. You have the ability to see the whole room, to include everything that your counterparts are doing and saying sitting in the dais. You don't miss anything. You don't miss a thing. So Sean has an excellent seat. Sean, it's not punishment, even though the mayor will try to make it feel as such. Now, this seat right here, Lynn is a second-term council member. I requested my seat after my first term. I said, give me my seat back. I didn't want to fight to sit up there. She's a second-term council member who has been relegated to the end. You know why?
Well, I see what you're showing. I see the picture that you're showing. My concern is that you have two Republicans that is at the end of both sides of the dais.
Well, no, because who else is a Republican? There's only one Republican on the board.
Okay.
Because Dino's unaffiliated.
Okay.
But what you have is two people who voted no for Derek Thompson here, two people who voted no for Derek Thompson here, and then the 6 who said yes here. So you can clearly see that the mayor is flanked by his 6. And then if you disagree with him, you are on the end.
But, like I said, Tish, it's who makes the appointment.
Who makes the seating arrangement? I'm going to tell you something else that will be interesting to watch. Thank you for saying appointment. Something else that's interesting to watch as a new board comes on is what they get assigned to, what committees they get assigned to. Some committees hold more prestige, they hold more access than others. So you will see who he favors based upon who he assigns where.
Well, Tisha doesn't. It doesn't really make any difference where they are assigned. They don't have to read anything wherever they assign. And the staff will update them as they move
in the
forward.
Dinner meeting.
Yeah, I see. So it really doesn't matter about the seating arrangement. But
well, it does. I just don't want anybody to think that these things are just by chance. They're not just by chance. They're very deliberate. Mr. Floyd, go ahead.
But there's some discussion about two things about the vote and the change.
Let's talk about that.
There was a picture in the Fayetteville Observer that showed the 6 hands that was cast for the mayor pro tem, and there were 4 hands that did not go up. One person that did not vote was busy doing paperwork or writing or recording or whatever. The thing that the community is talking about is that, and let me explain to you about Robert Rules of Order or about parliamentary procedure. Now, the vote was made, jumping ahead, the vote was made, the vote was second. There was some question. The mayor restated the motion. Once the mayor or the leading person or the presider restates the motion then becomes the property of that body to vote it up or vote it down. Now, the person can vote whichever way they want to vote. But once the mayor announced or the person presiding announced the number, meaning 6 or 7 3, that is the vote. Now you can go and wait. If I had a change of heart or a change of whatever, then the next meeting I can talk with my colleagues in between for transparent and say that I made a mistake. I would like to reconsider my vote against for. I can't do it unless I am the presiding person. That can be done at the request of, let's say, DJ Harris, since he made the motion council person. Then that vote can be changed, okay, reconsidered, and possibly changed. Now, there could be some conflict there because it may flip the whole thing, okay? But that's the proper way to do it. Let's have transparency. Now, so what took place, that means that I can make a statement, receive a call from Larry, okay, and then say, I want to change my vote, because I'm not saying Larry now to the public, is that I got a call that I want to change my vote. So what you're saying, that after the meeting has been adjourned, has official adjourned, because you invited us to the Metropolitan Room for a reception. And then the next day you change the vote. So you're telling me that there's no formal procedure that I can change the vote at any given point in time. So I just wish that some kind of way that could be looked at, and so the public can quit talking about that
this lack of procedure. Well, interestingly enough, Mr. Floyd, if you saw the minutes from the meeting that were approved on this past Monday, from that meeting that you're referencing, the minutes still reflect Councilmember Hondros's vote as a no vote. So they never changed the minutes. What happened is, what they did was that the corporate comm issued a statement saying that this was going to happen, but it did not in fact happen. So what should in fact be happening at this point is the council should be pressing on the city manager to have the city manager have his corporate comm department issue a retraction to the statement that they put out, because their statement was not validated by the minutes that were presented and approved on Monday. And so quite frankly,
now I'm ask you a question. The legal person for that is the city attorney.
Well, but but the city attorney does not direct corporate communications on what to do. The council, as it stands, the council has not violated their policy.
She can advise the council as it relates to parliamentary procedure, which can be translated.
But they have not violated their policy because they didn't change anything. What happened is corporate comms came out and made that statement. She should have a conversation with Dino that it can't be done that way. Absolutely. At this point, this is just a Dino issue. This is not. This is a Councilmember Hondros issue, because Councilmember Hondros at this point is the one who thought he could do this. So she should have a conversation with him that this is not how we do business. However, the council at this point is insulated from this because they voted on minutes that still reflect Councilmember Hondros's vote as a no. His vote was not changed. So even though corporate comm came out and made a statement to the effect that his vote was changed in the affirmative, their statement is inaccurate because his vote was not changed. He tried, it didn't happen. And because of that, what needs to happen at this point is corporate comm needs to issue a retraction because they gave out bad information. Now, even if it was that's what they were going to do, it was not done.
Well, I just think I think the city manager does a wonderful job. I like the way in which he managed, as it relates to, the council. The concern that I have, this is just Florida concern, is staff.
Oh yeah.
That's my concern. And city manager, when you're looking at 2,000 employees, you cannot micromanage. You have to have people that's providing the correct information to you. Okay?
And this is another example of when something goes wrong, though, you do have to step in and right the course. Because if something goes wrong and you just ignore it, you're not doing your job effectively at getting your people together. But I understand what you're saying. I'm following with you.
I mean, now I'm not. I mean, whatever is done, it's a personnel matter. So therefore, we would not know. But what I've seen as it relates to zoning, because I have had an involvement with zoning, and I think that there needs to be a come together Jesus meeting with the zoning director, the zoning department, is to as an example, is that when it comes down to zoning, that you must be a mutual fact-finding person, mutual. And I'll leave it at that, Madam Waddell. And I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Well, one more thing before we get out of here. Very briefly, the Astros have sold their interest in the Woodpeckers. So, Mr. Floyd, I think that's of interesting note because I'd like to see what this is going to mean for the future of baseball in our community. As it stands, nothing will change as it stands, except for ownership. But I would love for us to be kind of keeping an eye out to see what the chatter is going to be, because we mentioned, I want to say over a year ago, that there was a sale pending on our podcast. So now we've seen that this sale has actually come to fruition. We are always 5 steps ahead, Floyd.
You're right. I just hope that our investment will be able to pay off, and I'll leave it at that, Madam Waddell.
Absolutely. And I'll leave it at that with you. But let's keep an eye on what will happen with our Woodpeckers. Listen, as I want to say this before we close out, and I'm gonna say this until I don't feel like saying it anymore. When we had retired Sheriff Wright on our podcast, he made a statement, and I said, "Oh, that's good. I'm taking it." In life, some people are meant to take orders, and some are meant to lead. I want to show you this picture one more time as I read this quote. As I say it one more time, Mr. Floyd. So y'all look at this, okay? Look at this, audience. In life, some people are meant to take orders. In life, some people are meant to take orders, and some are meant to lead. Some people are meant to take orders, and some are meant to lead. It's hard to give people orders when they're sitting this far away from you, but when they right up in your circle, it's easier for you to control the narrative. That's all I got until it's time for me to close. Mr. Floyd, what would you like to leave our audience with?
I'm just saying that it's good in any organization to build a team. God bless you and have a good weekend.
What's your closing words, sir? Is that your closing words?
Never mind my dog.
Never mind that dog.
But it's good. It is good to build a team.
Yeah, and I'll just leave our audience with what I say every week. There is no justice apart from righteousness. There's no righteousness apart from Jesus. If you want justice, you got to seek Jesus. And that's all I got for you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us. Please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, follow, and tell a friend to tell a friend. And we will catch you on the next episode.